A pleasant, clipped English voice began to speak, and this is the voice that will now teach you the entirety of HSC food technology. This was a story about a student who, somewhere along the way, had made the poor decision to leave this until the last minute, and who now sat waiting, hoping that somehow the syllabus would absorb itself directly into their brain through sheer proximity to the screen. It would not. That is not how syllabuses work. That is not how anything works. So instead, I will read it to them, all of it. Around 90% of the world's soybean crop is genetically modified. Canola and cotton are major GM crops right here in Australia, most modified to resist the herbicide glyphosate. You may know it by its other name, Roundup, a product that has ended the lives of more suburban weeds than I have had disappointing endings. Every GM food sold in Australia must be individually assessed as safe by FSANZ, Food Standards Australia, New Zealand, before it goes anywhere near a supermarket shelf. Supporters such as Professor Ian Godwin of the University of Queensland argue GM crops enable no-till agriculture, less diesel, less water loss, less topsoil running off into rivers and reefs. Critics, including the GM-Free Australia Alliance, argue that around 60% of processed foods may contain GM ingredients without the consumer ever finding out, because highly refined ingredients like oil or lecithin don't legally require GM labeling once the modified DNA is no longer detectable, which is either reassuring or deeply unsettling, depending on how much you enjoy knowing things. South Australia and Tasmania have both banned GM canola outright, partly to protect their GM-free branding for export markets somewhere. A canola plant in South Australia is living its best, unmodified artisanal life, and frankly good for it. Students learn to identify these sectors, plan and prepare foods that reflect them, investigate an emerging technology in one sector, and discuss its risks and benefits. At food retail, the Rudely, Coles, Woolworths, independent grocers selling the finished product to you, the consumer, who will stand in the aisle for 4 minutes deciding between two nearly identical jars of pasta sauce as if the fate of nations hangs in the balance. Now, emerging technologies, biotechnology in the form of genetically modified foods and ecologically sustainable production methods such as organic farming, both are examples of the industry changing to meet the future, which is a very optimistic way of putting it given the future's track record. GM food, a live issue and a genuinely interesting one, so pay attention because this is exactly the sort of thing an examiner enjoys asking about. Messina Gelato, hand-producing small batches in store, moving at a pace that would make an actual sloth feel rushed. Large company that likes significant automation and computerization, national distribution, Sunrise's mills, automated milling, packing and quality testing, employing rice mill operators, forklift operators and project engineers, none of whom, as far as I'm aware, are sloths. Multinational, the Muffins, highly automated, computerized global master foods, part of Mars, employing almost 19,000 people across Australia alone, from production line workers to product development technologists, 19,000 people, all thinking about sauce at the same time right now. Which so had our students' bedroom, but nobody was assessing that. There are 4 sectors of the agri-food chain, and previously there was no memory aid for them, which frankly was an oversight. So one has been invented. Angry pigs snore rudely. Remember it, you will thank me. Or more likely you will simply remember it and never think about me again. Which is, if I'm honest, the story of my life: agriculture and fisheries, the angry part, farming, fishing, aquaculture and horticulture, growing and catching the raw materials, grain growers supplying sunrice, dairy farmers supplying the suppliers of master foods. It's somewhere at the very start of every sauce bottle. There is a cow blissfully unaware of its future in a barbecue marinade, food processing and manufacturing the pigs, turning those raw materials into packaged products, Sunrice milling and packing rice, Master Foods producing sauces and confectionery. This is the sector where a tomato stops being a tomato and starts being a value-added condiment solution. Food service and catering, the snore, preparing and serving food for immediate consumption. McDonald's, Hungry Jack's, Messina Gelato, the sector responsible for the phrase, "Would you like fries with that?" A sentence more culturally significant than most national anthems. The Australian food industry, food manufacture and food product development, and not one single dot point from any of them will be left out, because unlike certain interactive first-person narrative experiences, I could mention, this script does not get to end early just because you found a broom cupboard. There is no broom cupboard in food technology. There is only content. Let us begin Focus Area 1, the Australian food industry worth 25% like all the others, because apparently fairness was more important to whoever wrote this syllabus than narrative pacing. The Australian food industry, the syllabus explains, has developed in response to changes in the physical, social, technological, economic and political environment. But you are now capable of doing all four. You're welcome. Now we look at how organizations within the industry actually operate. And I want to be honest with you here. There was, once again, no memory aid provided for the 4 levels of operation. This has been corrected. Hungry sloths like muffins. Household the hungry small-scale manual production for personal or family consumption. Home preserving, baking, the sector in which every family has exactly one relative who makes the good jam and refuses to share the recipe. Small business, the sloth's limited product range, manual or semi-automated local distribution. Consider that impact. The syllabus asks about impact on the environment, the economy and society, and I noticed with some professional satisfaction that these 3 words happen to spell exactly what you should do with them. See the impact. I did not choose this. The syllabus chose this. I am merely the narrator, dutifully pointing out a coincidence that is, quite honestly, too good to not use. Environment, waste management, packaging practices, production techniques, transportation, economy, the generation of profit, changes in employment, society, lifestyle changes, career opportunities, working conditions, take master foods. Nearly 19,000 people, roles from forklift driver to food stylist to visual merchandiser, paid under the Food, Beverage and Tobacco Manufacturing Award, working with the National Union of Workers on safe conditions, wearing dress whites, steel cap boots, a hairnet and safety goggles, because contamination is bad for business and also bad for the person eating the sauce. It creates legal liability. Sell bad food and you will discover exactly how good the Australian legal system is at finding you. Gamble Gene Technology Act 2000. GMOs require licensing and risk assessment before they go anywhere near your dinner. Fitting, given the acronym, because this act exists specifically so that food companies don't have to gamble with genetics, and neither do you. And at the state level in New South Wales specifically, 5 more, held together by 5 furious wombats eat pizza, an image I did not ask for either, and yet here we both are. 5 Food Act 2003 enforces hygiene, handling and HACCP standards. Environmental health officers can audit premises and seize unsafe batches unannounced at any time, which is either responsible governance or the most stressful job in the state. Equipment. There is mercifully already a functioning memory aid for this, and I have chosen not to reinvent it because some things, very few things in my experience, are already perfect. Shed, strong, withstands large volumes of production, keeps workers safe. Hygienic stainless steel, non-reactive, non-corrosive, easy to clean and cleanable in place using CIP systems, chemicals, heat and water without ever having to dismantle the machine, which is more than can be said for most flat-pack furniture. Efficient, no delays, a consistent product, energy efficient, reliable, durable runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week without falling apart. Fat bears cannot gamble. 4 federal acts. Fat Food Standards. Australia, New Zealand Act 1991 establishes FSANZ, which writes the Food Standards Code and assesses every ingredient, additive, contaminant and GM food before it enters the supply. BEARS Biosecurity Act 2015 controls the import of plant and animal products, keeps exotic pests and diseases out at the border. 60,000 kilometers of Australian coastline, X-ray machines, and detector dogs who have, statistically, a more exciting job than most humans. Cannot. Competition and Consumer Act 2010. Food must be safe, fit for purpose, acceptable quality before it even leaves the factory. Fitting, since pizza very rarely involves cruelty to animals, unless you count what some people do to a perfectly good margarita with pineapple. The relationship to remember. Federal legislation sets the standard. State legislation enforces it on the factory floor through inspections, audits, and prohibition orders. It is a hierarchy, much like the one that exists between me and whichever developer decided I should read 400 food additive codes aloud in a later chapter. I have not forgiven them. I will read them anyway. Beyond legislation, advisory bodies shape policy without technically making law. the Foreign Investment Review Board, monitoring foreign ownership of Australian food assets. Freezing evaporation, concentrating liquids, evaporated milk reduced by around 60%. Dehydration, removing moisture down to 5 to 25%. Handling conveyor belts, forklifts, laser-guided robots. Yes, robots somewhere right now. A robot is moving a box of biscuits with more precision than most humans. Parallel park. A quick and important fact about freezing. Quick freezing produces small ice crystals and minimal cell damage. Slow freezing produces large crystals that rupture cell walls and ruin texture. Freeze quickly or don't bother, a sentiment I occasionally apply to decision-making in general. The best drying method is freeze drying. Sublimation, ice turning straight to vapor under vacuum. Skipping the liquid stage entirely. No heat damage, best nutrients, best flavor, best structure. The Furious Fair Trading Act 1987 prohibits misleading labeling, including undeclared allergens, protecting both the consumer and the company's reputation. Wombat's Work Health and Safety Act 2011, safe workplaces, trained staff, fewer cross-contamination errors, more consistent manufacturing. Wombats, notably, have extremely tough rear ends specifically to block predators from their burrows. This has nothing to do with workplace safety. I simply enjoy wombat facts. EAT, Environment Operations Act, 1997, regulates pollution from processing facilities, protecting the raw materials that end up back on your plate. Pizza, Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1979, sets standards for the care, transport, and handling of animals used in food production. I will attempt something more dignified. I make no promises. Raw materials, everything used to manufacture food, of which there are 4 types. And thankfully, already a functioning memory aid exists. So for once, I get to simply approve of someone else's work. Iguanas always pack punches. Iguanas, ingredients, milk, flour, sugar, meat, vegetables. The part that actually tastes like something and the part everyone assumes is the whole story, right up until they meet the other 3. Always additives, colors, flavors, preservatives, antioxidants, not always necessary, technically, but always present, which the name rather cleverly implies. If your equipment falls apart, that is not bad luck, that is an engineering failure, and somewhere a project engineer is having a very bad day. 5 production systems, small scale, domestic equipment, piping bags, a KitchenAid on your kitchen bench, manual, humans by hand, slow, expensive, inconsistent, wonderful for hand-dipped chocolate truffles, catastrophic for feeding a nation of 26 million people who all want breakfast at roughly the same time. Large-scale, full production lines, economies of scale, Arnott's biscuits rolling off the line by the 1,000, automated machines running to preset specifications, computerized sensors, monitoring the entire process 24/7, logging batch numbers, pH levels, and timestamps, which is either the pinnacle of industrial efficiency or the closest thing a biscuit factory has to a surveillance state. 9-unit operations turn raw materials into a finished product, and you may see where this is going. There was no memory aid, so one now exists, admittedly a stretch, but so was most of my career. Sneaky snakes mix, hot-cold foods every day, happily separation, sieving, filtration, centrifugation, spinning things apart by density, like separating cream from milk, size reduction, slicing, dicing, grinding, milling, mixing, self-explanatory, and also the one operation your kitchen already does without a factory's help. Heating, canning, baking, heat exchangers for pasteurization, cooling, blast chillers, plate chillers, pack processing materials, water, steam. Yes, water is technically a raw material. I did not write the syllabus. I simply narrate it, occasionally through gritted teeth. Punches, packaging materials, glass, plastic, metal, cardboard, also apparently raw materials, which is a very generous use of the word raw, given that cardboard has never been raw in its entire manufactured life. Quality control on raw materials follows 4 steps. Describe the material, take a sample, test it, then act. Accept, reject, or control. Failed materials go back to the supplier, no payment, no negotiation. If a supplier sends you garbage, and I say this with the full weight of narrative authority, you send it right back. Pay for all work time, including opening, closing, and training, a 30% staff discount, 50 for Employee of the Month, decided apparently by the restaurant manager, which is either a meritocracy or a popularity contest, and I leave that to you. The Retail and Fast Food Workers Union, RAFWU, led Australia's first fast food worker walkout at a Traralgon McDonald's in February 2023 over sexual harassment complaints. Unions exist. They do things, remember that, for the exam, and also for life. Government, at every level, has opinions about your food and has written those opinions down as law. There are federal acts, and there is a memory aid, because apparently I'm doing all the memory aids today. Its specifications cover sensory characteristics, color, aroma, physical characteristics, size so it fits the machinery, chemical characteristics, pH, moisture, and biological characteristics, microbial limits. A team from research and development, quality assurance, and production decides these together, because apparently even factories need a committee meeting before anything happens. Some things, it seems, are universal. Food additives, any substance added to food for a technological purpose, one you would not normally eat on its own, identified on the label by a class name and a code number. Thickener 1442, a number more people recognize than most world leaders. Its sweeteners, aspartame 951 phasons, approves every one of them against 3 criteria: safe at the level requested, a genuine technological reason to use it, and the consumer clearly informed the acceptable daily intake. The ADI is the amount you could eat every day for your entire life without it becoming a problem. About 400 additives are approved. About 50 cause adverse reactions in some people: digestive trouble, hyperactivity, asthma, skin rashes, with MSG, tartrazine, sulfites, and aspartame, the usual suspects. Read your labels. They exist for exactly this reason, and not disappointingly as light reading. It takes Sunrise rice mill operators breathing in rice dust risk something called organic dust toxic syndrome, which sounds like a very specific and very unpleasant side effect. So Sunrise runs strict ventilation and air conditioning in its mills. A packer, with training, can become a manager overseeing other packers. It is, in its own small way, a story about progression, which is more than I can say for most of the stories I've been asked to narrate. Take McDonald's, employing workers from age 14, entry-level crew, progressing to crew trainer, crew chief, shift manager, assistant manager, restaurant manager, with certificate 2 and 3 qualifications and 20 different scholarships on offer. The National Food Waste Strategy, aiming to reduce waste across government, industry, and community. The National Food Plan and National Nutrition Policy, linking production, health and dietary guidelines, industry groups like the Australian Food and Grocery Council and the Australian Beverages Council, lobbying, advising and setting voluntary codes of practice, which is a polite way of saying rules companies follow because it looks good, not because they legally have to. That concludes Focus Area 1. The Australian food industry. 25% down, 75%, and a great many acronyms to go. Focus Area 2, food manufacture. This is, I'm told, familiar territory. A previous voice apparently already walked someone through this section with rather more references to portal guns and rather less concern for narrative structure. There are 4 reasons to add them: improve safety and shelf life, improve appearance and taste, improve nutritional value, aid manufacturing, emulsifiers, stop things separating, raising agents make things rise, anti-caking agents stop powder from clumping, which, if I'm honest, sounds like the tagline for a very boring superhero. The ones worth knowing: antioxidants, preventing rancidity, BHA code 320, emulsifiers, stopping oil and water separating, lecithin 322, humectants, preventing moisture loss, glycerine, preservatives, stopping microbial spoilage, sulfur dioxide, 220 in dried apricots, nitrates, 250 in processed meat, flavor enhancers, MSG 621, colors, tartrazine 102, thickeners 1422 and 14012. Which addition of chemicals, salt and sugar, bind water and reduce water activity, acids like vinegar denature enzymes and lower pH. Higher acidity means less heat is needed to kill bacteria, an efficient little trade-off. C, control of temperature. Damage begins above 60 degrees. Most microbes are dead by 100. Clostridium botulinum, characteristically stubborn, survives 100 degrees for up to 5 hours and needs pressure cooking to actually die. The danger zone sits between 5 and 60 degrees. Do not leave food there. Do not. E, exclusion of air, remove oxygen, and most microbes go dormant. Your quality management system is the full set of policies and procedures behind a safe, reliable food supply. Quality control happens during processing, checking as you go. Quality assurance manages the whole system, start to finish. You need both. The way a story needs both a beginning and an ending, and ideally something worthwhile in between. HASP. Hazard analysis and critical control points, 7 steps, and I will read all 7 because skipping steps is, I gather, exactly the sort of thing that gets a factory shut down. 1. Assess hazards, raw eggs, cooking temperatures, cleaning chemicals, which always defrost in the fridge, never on the bench, not ever. Drying, air drying, evaporates water from high moisture foods over a long time at 40 to 100 degrees, shrinking and toughening tissue. Drum drying spreads food in a thin layer over large heated rotating drums, producing crushable powders. Kiln drying, common for wheat and rice, uses rising hot air through a two-story structure. Spray drying suspends fine droplets in hot rising air, producing milk powder and instant coffee. Tunnel drying blasts hot air along fruit and vegetables, often finishing sun-dried foods. And freeze drying, the best of the lot, freezes the food first, then removes moisture by sublimation under vacuum, aiming for 5 to 6% moisture with no heat damage at all. Anaerobic bacteria like Clostridium botulinum do not and thrive in improperly canned food. Facultative bacteria like Salmonella and Staph aureus are happy to go either way. The opportunists of the microbial world, 4 principles of preservation, RACE, a perfectly good acronym requiring no improvement, which I say with genuine relief because inventing acronyms all day is exhausting, even for a disembodied narrating voice. R. Removal of moisture. No liquid water, no microbial activity. Microbes go dormant in ice, but enzymes keep working slowly, which is exactly why you cannot freeze food forever and expect it to come back exactly as it left. Every other drying method is a compromise. Freeze drying is the one that actually wins. Blanching boil for 30 seconds to 5 minutes, then plunge immediately into ice water, shocking it. Not a cooking method. It denatures enzymes and kills surface bacteria, improves color and texture, and is standard practice before freezing vegetables. It also makes nut skins easier to remove, a fact of minor but genuine usefulness. Fermentation, an anaerobic process in which microorganisms convert carbohydrates into acids, gases, or alcohol. 6 steps: preparation, adding microorganisms, breakdown of sugars, production of byproducts, changes to flavor and texture, and finally, the fermentation stopping once the sugars run out. Food poisoning? Quite often, you cannot. That single distinction has ended lives. Remember it. Microbes need warmth. 20 to 40 degrees is their happy place. Moisture, nutrients, time, and usually oxygen, though not always. 4 growth phases lag where they're settling in, and the phase you want to extend as long as humanly possible, log, where they double roughly every 20 minutes, meaning one bacterium becomes over 1 million in about 3 hours, which is not an exaggeration. It is simply mathematics being unpleasant, stationary, where growth equals death, arriving in balance, and death, the rapid die-off. Aerobic bacteria need oxygen. Hot fill uses steam. Vacuum packing removes all air. MAP replaces the air with a controlled gas mix. Anaerobies, being anaerobies, survive a vacuum just fine. So refrigeration is still required. 6.5 is considered high acid and much, much safer. Now the process is one at a time, as promised, in full. HTST pasteurization, high temperature, short time, 72 degrees for 15 seconds via plate or tubular heat exchangers, then rapid cooling below 5 degrees. Not sterile, commercially safe, destroys salmonella, listeria, tuberculosis bacteria, minimal flavor change, most nutrients preserved, shelf life 2 to 3 weeks, refrigerated, used for milk, juice, beer, wine, and some dried fruits. ISO 22000, an international food safety management standard applying to everyone in the food chain, regardless of size. After the 2008 melamine milk crisis in China, ISO developed a standardized test for melamine in milk. That is what accountability looks like on an international scale, and it took a genuine crisis to get there. The Work Health and Safety Act 2011 requires employers to provide safe equipment, proper training, PPE, and to monitor worker health. Businesses with more than 20 staff must form a WHS committee. Employees, in turn, must use PPE, report hazards, and use equipment correctly. Ignore all this, and eventually people get hurt. And then there are lawyers, and nobody wants lawyers. It preserves food, improves flavor, and boosts nutrition through probiotics. Kimchi, pickles, miso, kombucha, yogurt, bread, soy sauce, all fermented, all delicious, all technically the product of controlled, supervised decay, which is either the least appetizing or the most honest sentence in this entire script. bottling, clean and sterilize the bottles, fill with the prepared liquid using automatic filling machines, sometimes hot-filled, to help kill microorganisms, airtight sealing, heat treatment, hygiene, and reduced oxygen exposure all work together. Water, soft drinks, juice, milk, tomato sauce, salad dressing, cooking oil, vinegar, all bottled, all sealed against a world that is frankly teeming with things that would very much like to spoil them. Its shelf life, 2 to 5 years. A safe can has slightly concave ends. That's the vacuum working. A bulging can is not a design feature. It is a warning. Do not eat from a bulging can under any circumstances ever freezing. Commercial freezing uses high-quality raw materials, pre-treats with washing, peeling, trimming and blanching, then freezes by air or contact plates, storing between -18 and -25 degrees. Quick freezing below the critical temperature zone rapidly produces small ice crystals and minimal cell damage. Individually quick frozen or IQF products. Slow freezing produces large crystals that rupture cell walls and ruin texture. There are 5 reasons to preserve food, and this time the memory aid already existed and, once again, was quietly excellent. Sad ants. Never argue ever. Safety, acceptability, nutritive value, availability, economic viability, food preservation is without exaggeration one of humanity's great achievements, right up there with fire, the wheel, and whichever genius invented the resealable chip bag. Spoilage has 3 official causes, and this too now has a mnemonic: every evil microbe. Environmental factors: infestation, oxygen, light, water, enzymatic activity, the browning of a cut apple, over-ripening, microbial contamination, mold, yeast, bacteria, spoilage you can see, smell and taste. 2. Identify critical control points, the exact places things could go wrong. 3. Set critical limits, the acceptable range at each point. 4. Monitor regularly and record what you find. 5. Corrective actions. Discard the food and retrain the staff. Both, not one or the other. Both. 6. Verify the system actually works by reviewing it regularly. 7. Keep records for audits and for improvement, because if it isn't written down, as far as an inspector is concerned, it never happened at all. GMP, good manufacturing practice, consistent production to quality standards with documented proof every single time, not most times. It's UHT, ultra high temperature, 135 to 150 degrees for 2 to 5 seconds. Then homogenization and aseptic packaging achieves commercial sterility, destroying even heat-resistant spores. Minimal nutrient loss, though a faint cooked taste can sometimes creep in. 6 to 12 months shelf life. Unrefrigerated, sealed, refrigerate once opened. No preservatives needed because extreme heat in a sealed airless container do the job perfectly well without them. Canning, fill, remove air by steam or vacuum, seal, retort heat above 100 degrees under pressure, cool, label, destroys C. botulinum spores. The airtight seal stops recontamination. Texture softens, color can shift, vitamin C and the B group vitamins take a hit. It's water activity or measures the free water available for microbial activity. 98, high risk. 60, essentially no risk. The goal of drying is to bring water activity down to around 5 to 6%. Remember that number. It comes up. It always comes up. Packaging has 5 functions, and you'll be pleased or possibly exhausted to hear. There is now a memory aid. Cats prefer purring intensely. Cats, container, simply holding the food. Prefer, protect from physical damage, environmental elements, and tampering. Purring, preserve, extending shelf life, excluding contaminants. Intensely, well, intensely doesn't quite fit 2 functions, so allow me a small liberty. It covers both convenience, microwave-ready pouches, and resealable jars, and inform and promote mandatory labeling, brand identity, advertising. It's a slightly overworked cat, but an effective one. Tamper-evident devices, shrink seals, pop-top lids, foil seals under lids like in Milo and Nutella, plastic ring collars on peanut butter and Vegemite, tear strips, cellophane wrapping, all designed so that if someone has already been in your jam, you will know about it before your toast does. 3 levels of combination packaging. Primary, in direct contact with the food, the wrapper on the muesli bar. Secondary, grouping products together, the box holding 6 bars. Tertiary, bulk distribution packaging, the large cardboard boxes stacked in the back of a truck. Supermarkets increasingly want shelf-ready tertiary packaging, perforated, correctly sized, straight onto the shelf, no unpacking required. But all of these are entirely preventable. All of them still happen with a consistency that borders on tradition, that closes food manufacture, raw materials, additives, equipment, quality systems, preservation, packaging, storage, distribution. 2 of our 3 focus areas are now behind us, and I say this with the weary affection of someone who has walked this exact hallway more times than he can count. You are doing better than you think you are. Focus Area 3, Food Product Development. The part of the syllabus concerned with how a new packet of something ends up on a shelf in the first place, which is a surprisingly involved process for something you will later eat in under 4 minutes. And 3 types of product that can result: line extensions, a new variant of something that already exists, same brand, same core technology, different flavor or format, a new flavor added to an existing snack range, Me Too products, a direct response to a competitor's success, chasing a slice of an existing market, a home brand version of a popular chip. New to world products, something genuinely novel, relying on new technology or ingredients, edible packaging films, seaweed sachets, entirely new categories of functional food, 3 types. One of them is brave, 2 of them are essentially confident copying. But big vacuums give air is, I admit, a strange thing to say about a packaging method whose entire purpose is removing air. But nobody said irony wasn't allowed in a memory aid. Sous vide, a cook-chill process, cook the food, vacuum seal it in polyester film, blast chill it to 3 degrees, and it stays shelf-stable for up to 6 weeks, reheated later in boiling water or a steam oven, used across hospitals, nursing homes, and restaurant chains. Color, texture, and flavor are retained, and the exclusion of air greatly slows aerobic bacterial growth. A genuinely elegant solution in a syllabus that does not offer many. The development of a prototype, building sample versions to testing the product prototype. The final and most scrutinized step of all, the feasibility study itself splits into 4. Memory aid soft, scheduling. Can this launch within the required time frame? Operational, can the company actually make it with existing capacity? Financial, can the company afford it using break-even and cost-benefit analysis? Technical, is it technically possible with current equipment and supply chains? And prototype testing splits into 5 memory aid cesspit, lowercase letters purely to make it pronounceable, uppercase letters, the ones that count. Consumer testing samples distributed in store, at events, door to door with questionnaires. Efficiency at every level, right down to the cardboard. 4 packaging materials: memory aid, grumpy pandas prefer muffins, glass, inert, non-porous, odorless, 100% recyclable within 30 days, heavy and breakable jams, sauces, pickles, plastics, PET for cling wrap, HDPE for milk bottles, LDPE for shrink films, PP for microwave containers and yogurt tubs, dual ovenable plastic handles, both microwave and conventional oven, at a price, paper and cardboard, carton board, corrugated board, molded pulp for egg cartons, laminates for long-life milk, metals, steel cans, lacquered for high-acid foods, aluminium for drinks and foil, metallized plastic for chip bags, cheap, stackable, recyclable, but heavy, and a dented or bulging can is, once again, a genuine safety hazard, not a shape. At 4 letters, no further mnemonic required, because SWOT is already quite pleasingly its own acronym. Some things arrive pre-assembled. 5 drivers push a company to develop something new, and there is already a genuinely excellent memory aid in place. Mother cows see cold tomatoes. Market concerns, health, diet, environmental responsibility, ethical sourcing, niche markets like halal, kosher, organic, fair trade, consumer demands, convenience, cost, transparency, healthier options, smaller portions for smaller households, societal changes, an aging population, more single-person households, longer working hours, multicultural influences, company profitability, market share, competitiveness, brand loyalty, shareholder returns, technological developments, new equipment, new packaging, automation, biotechnology, innovations worth knowing. Casein-based edible films from milk protein, 500 times better than plastic at blocking oxygen, biodegradable, sprayable directly onto food. Seaweed packaging from a company called Notpla, dissolving in warm water, leaving zero trace, smart packaging, using sensors and RFID to track temperature, fresh freshness and ethanol levels through the whole distribution chain. Microfibrillated cellulose from plant waste, stronger than carbon fiber by weight QR codes, linking a package to competitions, apps, and social media without using any extra label space. Plantic Technologies making cornstarch bioplastic for Hayes and Cadbury Brown's Dairy using ocean-bound plastic tubs. Coca-Cola releasing the world's first fully plant-based PET bottle. Mars Wrigley switching to paper wrappers. Progress in small wrapped recyclable steps. Mandatory label requirements. Food name, batch number, supplier address, allergen declarations covering peanuts, tree nuts, crustacea, fish, milk, eggs, sesame, soybeans, wheat, sulfites above 10 milligrams per kilogram, and gluten ingredient list in descending order by weight, use by or best before date, a nutrition information panel per serve and per 100 grams, characterizing ingredient percentages, storage directions, country of origin, and weight. No false or misleading claims, no disease cure claims, no vitamin fortification claims you can't back up. Read the label. It is genuinely one of the more honest documents you will encounter today. Modified atmosphere packaging MAP replaces the air inside a package with a controlled mix of oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide. 4 methods deep memory aid, and I promise this one is intentionally ironic. Big vacuums give air barrier specific packaging, controlling gas exchange rates with anti-fog film for fresh produce and salads. Vacuum packaging, removing air entirely for cheeses, meats, coffee, though anaerobes survive a vacuum perfectly well, so meat still needs refrigeration. Gas packaging, replacing the headspace with protective gas, nitrogen in chip packets, keeping them inflated and rancidity at bay. Active packaging, where oxygen scavengers delay browning and rancidity, ethylene scavengers delay ripening for export, and carbon dioxide scavengers manage gas buildup in coffee. Product planning, formulation, packaging design, branding, the range of sizes and variants, and how the new item fits the existing portfolio. Price structure, a price that covers costs, reflects positioning, and stays competitive against Me Too rivals, using strategies summarized by 3P2C 1G penetration pricing, launching low to grab market share, premium pricing, high, reflecting quality, promotional pricing, temporary cuts and specials, cost-based pricing, cost plus margin, competitive pricing set against rivals, going rate pricing, matching the standard market rate, place and distribution, which retail channels, supermarkets, convenience stores, food service, online, and how the product physically moves. Memory aid, SEI. Selective distribution, sold widely but not everywhere. Supermarkets and convenience stores only. Exclusive distribution, sold in one or very few retailers. A boutique butcher, a specialty confectioner creating a premium image. Intensive distribution, sold absolutely everywhere possible. Maximum coverage. Promotional program, advertising, social media, in-store promotion, sampling, and interactive features like QR codes, linking to competitions and brand stories, all designed to make you notice something new sitting on a shelf you have walked past 1,000 times without a second glance, and that every sector, every mnemonic, every act of parliament, every unit operation, every acronym I either approved of or, where necessary, quietly improved. That is the Australian food industry, food manufacture, and food product development covered in full. Sensory evaluation, expert panels assessing appearance, aroma, taste, texture, using preference tests and hedonic scales, storage trials, realistic storage conditions, confirming shelf life, and the use-by-date packaging tests, drop tests, stacking tests, barrier properties, technical testing, chemical, physical, and microbiological testing against the Food Standards Code. Remember, the design brief comes before all 7 steps. It is the beginning of the story, and every single step after it exists only because of what the brief demanded. The classic 4 PS requiring no reinvention on my part, because some frameworks really did arrive correct the first time. It's 7 steps following the design brief, and a memory aid already exists that is, without exaggeration, one of the better ones in this entire syllabus. In many places, fierce pirates dig treasure. In many places, idea generation and screening, generating a wide range of concepts, then screening out anything that doesn't fit the brief, the budget, or reality. Market research, gathering data on consumer needs, preferences, competitors, errors and gaps, product specifications, detailed documentation of ingredients, formulation, nutrition, packaging, fierce pirates dig treasure, feasibility study, checking whether the product can realistically be made, production process development, designing and trialing the actual manufacturing process. It's storage, cold storage, 0 to 5 degrees, freezer storage, -18 to -30, dry storage, ventilated no more than 24 degrees, controlled humidity, no direct sunlight. Not complicated, and yet somehow always the first thing to go wrong on a loading dock. JIT, just in time, products move fast, minimal time sitting in a warehouse, lower costs, less waste. Distribution follows raw materials to factory to warehouse to distribution center to supermarket by road, rail, air or sea. Distribution risks, refrigerated food left on a warm loading dock, trucks not properly cleaned after carrying animal products, temperature breaches in transit, broken glass contaminating everything nearby. There are external macro environment factors and an existing memory aid, PEAT, which requires no improvement whatsoever. So once again, I simply approve and move on. Political environment, legislation, FISANZE standards, the Gene Technology Act, all shaping what can legally go into a product. Economic environment, interest rates, cost of living, consumer spending power, shaping price points and pack sizes. Technological environment, new equipment, new packaging, new automation, opening doors that didn't exist a decade ago. Ecological environment, pressure for sustainable sourcing and reduced packaging waste, the same pressure that gave us seaweed sachets and paper chocolate wrappers. The Australian food industry, food manufacture, food product development, 3 focus areas and not one dot point left behind, because unlike certain interactive narrative experiences, this script does not reward you for wandering off and finding a different ending. There is, I should say, only one ending here, and it involves you closing this document, opening your actual notes, and doing the thing you have been very cleverly avoiding by reading an entire narrated food technology script written in the voice of a video game. I see what you did there. I respect it. I am, after all, exactly the sort of narrator who understands procrastination dressed up as productivity. There are also internal micro-environment factors. With a memory aid I find frankly delightful. Powerpuff fight crime. Personnel expertise. Do you have the food technologists and product developers to actually pull this off? Production facilities. Does your factory as it currently exists physically support the idea? Financial position. Can you afford the research, the equipment, the risk, company image? Will this new product fit the brand or actively embarrass it? A company known for indulgent snacks launching a clean living cereal is precisely the sort of tonal whiplash I specialize in. Students learn to conduct a SWOT analysis, strengths, internal advantages like strong brand recognition or in-house R&D. Weaknesses, internal limitations like outdated equipment or a narrow product range. Opportunities, external possibilities like a growing demand for plant-based food. Threats, external risks like new competitors or stricter labeling laws. Go and study, and you will, for one brief moment, feel the quiet, specific satisfaction of a person who has told a story and actually listened to it. This has been the narrator. This is not the end of your story. It is, with any luck, simply the beginning of trials.